So, that obviously, and at some point I'll release them where I need to in a different way, but having full ownership of them is fine by me. Um, and there's a reason for that, because when you trust people um, to have your back, and you do business with people who you genuinely care about, respect, you're on the same page, you don't get screwed over. And most people in business are only out for themselves and for profits, and that has destroyed our planet. And it's amazing to see everybody going, oh, Bill Gates will fix it. Not alone. That's not alone. So last year, you can check my Netflix, my Netflix account and stuff, and see when it was that I started watching. I know I didn't watch much of it, but the story of Bill Gates and what he was doing in the world with his wife. So, what a power couple. The Gates Foundation is something that I definitely 100% back, and it's something that I'm telling anyone that they need to, because they've actually been genuinely trying to save this planet. And the misunderstanding of billionaires and where the shift's been, everybody has been so separate, and the fact that nobody's been working together is where we have a problem. Because what has happened is everybody's going off trying to solve this puzzle, and everybody's built these separate teams, which I see. And because of these separate teams, okay, that's really distracting. And these separate teams and all of that, trying to solve the same thing, nobody was working together the right way. So there was a lot of a mix match, and I said, people going into space right now, we're parking the spaceships, because if we don't save this planet, there's no chance for any of us. Because let me tell you, I get how it works, and I'm 100% sure on that. I was told last year in a message that I needed to find Bill Gates, and I remember, if me being me, nobody going, what the hell, that doesn't even make sense. However, in my other world, when I'm having these, it made perfect sense. I just told myself that I'd have for the rest of my life to do that. I didn't realize the timelines had to be dramatically sped up. That's what they did for me. So what is a vision board, and what's the importance of a vision board? Well, I'll explain to you, who, as you've wanted to know, I'm sure, what we're actually doing here. Leading with a purpose. There's no part in being. I'm a reluctant leader, that is for sure. Do I love public speaking? Yes, I don't fear public speaking. In fact, I crave public speaking. So that's it, but the difference is you have to be speaking to the right audience, because when you're speaking to the wrong audience, they will eat you up, spit you out, make you feel like you are nothing and worthless. And that is where the world of Hollywood and all of that, I was told to help, because if you haven't seen how you've been used and abused and just manipulated as part of the system, then you've missed the point too. And if you've been on networks and a politician and different things, you have been used and abused too. Because there's been something else going on here for a very long time, and we have not been able to speak about this openly, and we still can't. And that's why I'm safe enough now to be able to speak about it, because I know that there is no possible way that any of this content will get into the wrong hands anymore, because the biggest people in the world have backed me. And how have they backed me? The truth is, in a way of communication that only people in this would ever be able to understand. And that is why I've been able to solve these puzzles and these clues, because I know who I am. But you had to get me to find my own self-worth enough to believe in myself. And that was the missing piece of all this, but it had to be specific dates, specific times, specific ways. So So if I feel myself being adopted as a daughter, by Melinda and Bill, then I know who was, writing messages was, and I just knew which child or who was taking over my body to do that. So I pieced those things together at different times on different dates because there was a missing piece component. So we knew I kept speaking of grandpa, and being granddaughter, but in that world needed a father. So even though I was adopted myself, that I understood at different times, but it had to be received the other way. I had to see the connection of the two and get confirmation in those things. So when I decided to make Tony my father at a young age because I wanted to have somebody to aspire to that I felt was the right type of person. So that was something I held on to, but it had to be some way to get that message. How do you get through to a network and something that's so big and so incredible, when they're surrounded by so many people, when you don't have millions of dollars? So if Tony only takes 7 clients and is charging a couple $1,000,000 or whatever it is, how are you supposed to get through to that? Well, a different way. So when I started the ClickFunnels Challenge in February, I told myself I was all in because I wanted to understand fully the internet. And on day 6, I understood that this game was something far bigger than just the internet. I did understand that. I just didn't understand how significant my role was in it, because that's too overwhelming in this world to process. So I had to get enough belief to get me there. And the truth is, I'm still extremely scared. I'm still in a denial, but I'm not. Like I'm fully all in, and I do everything that I'm asked to. When I'm asked, I'm just. It's such a difficult balance because I have to deal with so many real world things here, and make sure I'm accounting for other people's feelings and everything else, because I'm a natural people pleaser. However, I had to break away from being a people pleaser to do the right thing and then see where those cards lie. But it still means I still do the right thing the right way, because when I do that, it keeps the timelines accurate for everyone else to move on to the part of the story that they need to move on to, because we all have our specific roles in a different way. And that's the part of healing. But it breaks my heart to see anyone else hurt, just like it breaks your heart to see me hurt or anyone else's too. And that's how that has kind of pieced together. So he was the first person I was told by angel, spirit, faceless, that I needed to find, and it was extremely important to do so. And when I see the timelines and how they match up, and then the dates, it always works out perfectly. So I was medicated from the time I was 15, and then I started going off my medication about this time last year, I think, ish, give or take. I was still probably taking it sometimes, so it was like I wasn't consistent with taking it. So obviously that kept me not having a memory, and I just would go on. Not having a memory, I have to be very careful and clarifying that I still knew about my abuse. I still knew, but you get things in patches and you just move on, right? So that's where they diagnose people ADD or all of those things. It's scatterbrain. We'll see it with my daughter. The fact that she has such severe learning disability and ADD is because her father didn't believe her with the type of abuse that she was going through, and it shuts her down. And then I tried to save her, but as a little child, she doesn't understand that, and then it's kids can't comprehend that, so they just phase out in different ways. And that's where there's so much misunderstandings about mental health, and there's so many misdiagnoses, and there's so many different things. Nobody in history has done what I've done this way to prove what post-traumatic stress disorder is. It's being done in different parts, and people were studying it in different things, but nobody was able to piece it together because they had to be on the other side and have no connection to what those people were putting together scientifically there had to be real proof. So I fully understand that. Um, and in understanding spirits and understanding different things in different worlds, I, when I was first raped or whatever, I guess I've been living my life really. I got inherited the spirit of men, and then got stronger and stronger with more men that lived in me. I guess so. You go, okay, well, how does this work? Well, with body, I would have been a gay man. That's what I like, because I'm not like with what happened to me, and then I got stronger and the different people that were able to take over and inhabit my body over the years, because I was not a traditional, you know, girl, in the sense that I wanted to be, but in this world I didn't have the I didn't grow up the way that other, you see in the movies and people growing up in there. I wanted to be, want to be married and monogamous and kids and the white picket fence and all of those things. And that's like what we want to hold on to because we see that in Hollywood. However, not being able to figure that out or do that, or because you have such a skewed vision of what a healthy relationship is. So I had to find out how to find a healthy relationship on my own. I just, the best ways that I could, but you still don't see that you're still so shaped by your past and by what people tell you, and you have to break away at each psychological abusive thing all along the way in order to see your worth. That's just how it works, and that's how we are all connected to each other. So when I was told I'm looking for 12 saints, there's a couple discoveries that have been missing in that. So where the number 12 comes from, obviously the Last Supper, 12 areas of my program, that were always the number 12. 13 becomes a significant number because that's what they say, Mary not included in the pictures and blah, 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 blah. But there was a major missing component to that, because there wasn't just her missing. There was the other half of all of those souls. Not, as Leonardo da Vinci states, not just females, feminine energy. So you can be a male with the more present feminine energy, and so the more evolved a person becomes, you live your life opposite, not even knowing. So the first part of my life, my spirits lived inside me, men. And as you gave me strength, I became and flipped finally a woman. So, but more of it, that's why I didn't have really interest in women, experiment with this and that, but I've always had obsessive, crazy people. Like really, you quite everybody questions their sexuality. It's either you choose to ignore it or you don't, and why? But because it was taught to us that in the Bible and in religion that it's wrong to be homosexual, which is very inaccurate, because that is not back. And I know because I have my memories. I've been put in the position where I've been so isolated that my memories are so good that I remember the beginning of time, that we don't live like that. Go watch Avatar. Our spirits are, this is just here. It's not, and we move around and we can do those things. We just have to have a permission and know who we're working with and who's who, and identify each other. So one disciple, one of the 12, is always two the bodies. That's just how it works. And those things were written out of history because then there would be no ability to shift the power, because the truth is it was the white man who created the lies and religion and all of that, because they're the furthest from evolution. And that's the irony of the whole thing. And only the ones who are balanced enough to be able to believe in everything and see everything and understand everything can truly be empathetic and let other people's thoughts and visions in. And it's why I had to be abused in every possible way that this world in this lifetime would have to offer, because then it opened up my abilities to be able to see other people's pain. And it's why when I was a kid or a teenager, I would cry myself to sleep over, people not eating in Africa, and people, like, all of those things always concerned me. However, as time goes on and life goes on and life gets harder, we become more and more selfish in different ways too, but we need to be. And that's what in the ways of, if I don't put my oxygen mask on first, I'm never going to be able to save anyone else. And I was always trying to save everyone without putting on my own, and recognizing the people that were doing that. And that's what my role was sent here to do, is recognize all the people that just kept, you think you're putting on your own oxygen mask. You've built, look at what you've built. Thank God. Look at what everything you've done. And I'm sent here to remind you and say thank you, truly, because you've been so grateful and you live your life in gratitude, and I know that. But truthfully, nobody really understood your loneliness and pain. But now you know that other people do, and other people feel the same, and now you're seen. Because our thoughts, and that's why you need science and God, are connected to each other. And it's why we can hear each other and see each other. However, impossible without the technology, because the energy has to shift to the right people and be in the right places. And it's been kept secret and hidden in different ways, to continue to fuel the world's, biggest mafia. Religion and the government. What's a conspiracy theory? It's impossible that people don't understand that, but we have to let it go, because they're just doppelganger versions in different ways, and your own following, you're responsible for, because that fits your timeline. That's how it works. So the more you expose of your stories, the more people can relate to you, and more people understand, and they're going to go one of two ways, because when they hate you, they're hating a part of themselves. So you have to be okay, and you have to love yourself for the mistakes you have made, and be strong enough, because that part of your story is what's going to save them. Because if you've been putting out and portraying this illusion of perfection, you're making it impossible for anyone to be able to achieve that. And if you've ever uttered the statement, "Do you know who I am?" This is where you're put to shame and embarrassed. And that's fine, because I can see all of your embarrassments. Like I said, you've given me this incredible power, because I'm not going to ever abuse it. I can joke and I can tease you guys back and forth, and as I become more comfortable in this world to do that, because I have these abilities in my head and the things that I see, I don't share a lot. I share probably about 1%. So I don't tell you what I know. That is my secret power, I guess, ability, is I learned how to do that when I was a little girl, to keep myself safe. And I still know how to do it, to keep myself safe. Because look at what happened to me. And what happened was, all these memories so fast, so much, my body and my brain couldn't process it, and I was somewhere else. Because when I'm somewhere else, I can speak openly, and I can speak to my family, friends, people. Family now we say, because we understand each other as a family. Our family is not just blood. We're connected in a different way, because we're from something else. And it sounds totally ridiculous to people who, and this is what I say, like, it sounds like an arrogant asshole, but they're too small-minded, right? Like, and that's just because that's wherever they are in their lines, and they have to die and come back into somebody else, and that's how we get more strength, right? Death. Spirits go where they need to go, and if you ignore them, they will make you insane. So this year is the year that every scripture, written notes, whatever, codes, all of it, come together, and only the people who've been able to follow this story, which is only 1% of the population, the true one, will know exactly where the cards lie and who's who. So I try to piece things together at different times, and it slows me down from other things, obviously, because that's how it is. I don't have control over that. I surrendered myself over to them, a higher power, you, whoever, because that's my calling, and I'm fine with it. It's just overwhelming, so we've had to do it this way, and it's why everybody needed to heal, because it allows, things to die that need to die, and then we are reborn into the way we need to be reborn. And that's why we have immortality, because these bodies don't mean anything. But if we're in the right place, and we have enough belief and we do it the right way, when we die, we get to choose who we come back as and where we go, so that we can stay in our family and our loved ones. And we've been separated for so long, in everybody's visions of apocalypse and all of that stuff in the year 2000, and why it related to computers and blah 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 blah, was because it had to do with this timeline. But in order to keep everyone safe, we had to change that 20 years, because there would have been too much of the wrong chaos and the power in the wrong places, and we had to mind fuck people into believing that part of it. Also because true time machines and all of the stuff we've done has to align, because everybody has to go back to being where they need to be, and it has to be perfectly aligned, because a soulmate is you. It's yourself in a different body, and that's why you have the same brain. So it's an interesting component, because a soulmate doesn't always, too, for what people understand, it's the love that we've been missing or needing. So for some people it's that romantic component in relationships. Some people it's the friendship. Some people it's the father-daughter. Some people it's the mother-daughter. Some people it's the mother-son. Some people it's the father-son. Whatever it is, whatever's been missing that we've all been searching for, the underlining thing we have all been looking for isn't just answers to this game or this puzzle or this ridiculous thing that we've been trapped in. It is love. And you have to first give it to yourself and know you're worthy enough, because if you don't feel that way, you're not going to be able to find the answers that you're looking for. And that's why 1%, that 1% of the population, if you've been given these gifts and these blessings and everything, is responsible for the rest of the world. You're responsible for the 99%. So if we don't clean up this planet, look what we've done in the last 100 years. I'm going to speak very plainly here. There is no 100 years left in this planet if we don't fix it now. If you don't take the money you have made and the billions of dollars you have generated and the things you have done, if you don't put that resources into fixing this climate, the pollution, all of this, there is no 100 years. This is the apocalypse. This is World War III. It's invisible because it's in our brains, and only the gifted are the ones who can see it. I've had an ability, I've said, since I was a child, when I see things that are horror, so some people, like abusive people, can see demons, can see all of those things, of course. Aliens, whatever the hell you see, those are all real. They're just in different timelines. And that's what the misunderstanding of mental health is. For me, I just said I have a wild imagination, and when those things came, I kicked their ass and I told them to get the fuck out because I had other shit to deal with. And I guess that's my role in this. I didn't realize how strong my abilities were to do that. And when I went back into the scariest place ever, the Vatican and those things, I couldn't even in this world really go in there, because the visions and the things and what really lives there is scary as fuck. And that is why Mother Teresa is with Tony. I will go into a little. I have to do this in sections. Actually, we'll stop. I'll do a new video for it.